year when this season comes around again, my thoughts go back to 2009, which is the year that my father died. He was in the hospital for really the last month of his life, a little bit longer. And I was working at Princeton University at that time. He was on Long Island. So there was a whole lot of back and forth going on. And when we came to Memorial Day weekend on that Friday, everybody ducked out a little bit early, and there was a huge traffic jam just kind of getting out of the university area. I was sitting in that traffic jam when I got a call from my sister, who was at the hospital with my mother. And she said, Dad's been unresponsive all day, and they want us to sign a DNR, and we don't know what to do. So I said, well, I'll come up. So with great frustration, I made my way finally out of that traffic jam, out of that area. I rushed home. I called Chris and said, pack your bag if you want to come. I threw some stuff in a suitcase as quickly as I could, and we took off for Long Island, of course, having to go through the whole New York City metropolitan area at rush hour on Friday of Memorial Day weekend. So when we finally arrived, it was just a little while before the end of visiting hours in intensive care. And we came in and we joined, my whole family gathered at the side around his bed. He was there, and he did not acknowledge our arrival, as you might expect. There was a nurse sitting talking with my mother, explaining exactly what was involved in a DNR. Do not resuscitate. I think probably everybody knows that. Really to turn things off and let him go if that was what was meant to be. And my mother, not surprisingly, was having a hard time with that. And the nurse was being very patient in explaining this. And we're all there, and all of a sudden, my dad's eyes popped open. And he looked from one end of this semicircle around to the other end with great amazement and said, "What are you all doing here?" And we're like, so my sister, my younger sister, who said, "Dad, the nurse is talking to us about what is the best thing we can do to take good care of you." I thought, what a great answer, my goodness. So anyway, the evening went on. He was wide awake. He was totally himself. He was really funny. He was really smart. He said, I was a little bit alarmed for a minute. I thought it was like one of those scenes in Masterpiece Theater when the family gathers for the reading of the will. Not that bad. He kept saying, "I wish I had some snacks to give you." My dad loved his family more than anything, and he was the master of hospitality. So if he knew people were coming, really, the only ones he entertained was us, but if we were coming, he would rush out, he would make snacks. Each one of us had a designated sort of hors d'oeuvre that was our personal specialty. He would stock up. "I wish I had something to give you." And we said it was okay. We laughed. We had a great time. The nurse was really wonderful. He let us stay way past the end of visiting hours. I think he let us probably stay for over an extra hour. And I could hear in the background his supervisor giving him heck for, because we were getting in the way of all their procedures and all that stuff. But anyway, so we stayed and finally left. And it was a tremendous gift to us. We had really been mourning my dad's loss, and then all of a sudden, most unexpectedly, we had him back with us. And of course, the end of the story is 2 weeks later, he was gone. And our grief began again. So I think of that story also at this time of the year, at this time of the liturgical year. We celebrated the Feast of Ascension, the church did, on Thursday. We're coming to the end of this Easter season. I wonder what it felt like for those first followers of Jesus They never had the playbook. You know, each thing that happened, it wasn't like for us, where it comes around every year and we kind of know the next thing. Each thing that happened was astounding to them. Their leader was cruelly, brutally killed, and the tremendous grief over that loss. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, he's back. The tremendous joy at encountering the risen Christ and seeing that he truly was back with them in his body. And then the next thing after that, the ascension. And he is gone in his body. Now, whatever images you may have from paintings or art or whatever, if you have an image of the ascension as being about the feet of Jesus disappearing into a cloud, let go of that. It's not like a Cape Canaveral liftoff. It's like this man was with them in his body, and then suddenly he's gone. And they're alone again. And the angel says to them, "Men of heaven, why do you stand looking up to heaven?" Why indeed? What else? They go back to Jerusalem, and they go back to the upper room, and they gather to wait and pray. And I assume probably there was a lot of uncertainty about what was next and a fair amount of grief in that gathering. So I was thinking that in my experience of grief, my family's experience of grief, there are lessons that we've learned that also apply to how to live as a post-ascension Christian. How to live in this world where we believe that Christ is with us, but not in a bodily form, not as a man that we can talk to, as I will talk to many of you at coffee hour. How do we get on with that? Okay, so here's my 6 lessons that grief has taught us. Number 1, stick together no matter what. This is your family. You will share joy with them. You will share grief with them. Together, you'll get through it. In your love. I mean, my dad, I said family was special to him. It was always true, but I think we realized that especially as we grew up and became grown-ups, we realized what grace and strength there was in that